Hoy he llegado hasta el Parlamento junto a un grupo de chilenos, además del ex miembro del Parlamento, Telmo Languillén, quienes entregan una carta con los parlamentarios aquí en el Parlamento de Melbourne. Veamos las imágenes.
Estamos acá en el Parlamento de Victoria con los compañeros para entregar una carta a los parlamentarios, aunque supimos que ya en la mañana el Parlamento todo escuchó de parte de algunos parlamentarios el caso nuestro, el caso de Chile, lo que está pasando en Chile y cómo queremos nosotros que ellos nos ayuden a poder llegar a la masa australiana y llegar a todos los latinoamericanos y los australianos y exponer nuestro caso. Chile está sufriendo otra vez en las manos del fascismo y eso no puede ser, en este siglo no puede ser.
Bueno, aquí estamos con los compañeros y compañeras chilenos en el Parlamento del Estado de Victoria, a punto de encontrarnos con una delegación parlamentaria que va a recibir a esta deputación con una carta manifestando mucha preocupación por las violaciones de derechos humanos en Chile, pidiendo clarificación por los muertos, por los desaparecidos, condenando la militarización de este proceso y pidiendo al presidente Piñera y al gobierno de Chile paz, conciliación, conversación y todas las reivindicaciones que están planteando los trabajadores, los hombres, las mujeres, los estudiantes, los campesinos chilenos. Nosotros aquí en Australia en solidaridad con Chile, fundamentalmente haciendo el reclamo pertinente de respetar el derecho, el Estado de Derecho, la Constitución, las libertades, pero apoyando también los llamados de la colonia latinoamericana y chilena en cuanto a las importantes reformas constitucionales que se deben efectuar en el Estado chileno. Entonces aquí nosotros, compañeros de otras comunidades, en el caso mío en facultad de parlamentario y presidente de esta Cámara retirado, estoy aquí en solidaridad con la comunidad chilena, apoyando todos los reclamos que esta comunidad está haciendo a la comunidad internacional y a las autoridades de este Parlamento.
Here we are with parliamentarians that have gratefully, fantastically agreed to receive a letter from the Chilean community and the Latin American community that is so concerned about the state in Chile. And we'd like to thank you for taking your time and accepting our request. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for this important correspondence. I think if I speak on behalf of my parliamentary colleagues here and the Victorian Parliament, we take this correspondence and we take it knowing how serious some of the issues are in terms of the rule of law and violence in Chile. And we all have constituents. I know I've been contacted by local members of my local community. I know all of us have got wonderful friends from the Latin American community. Our thoughts and prayers are with you, and we stand with you during this difficult period. And if there's any advocacy we can do, any support, we stand ready. So I thank you for making the time to visit us at the Parliament. As legislators ourselves, we uphold the rule of law, we pass laws. We're very proud that we have a human rights charter here in Victoria that was introduced by the Labor government, and that's where it all begins, the rule of law. And we need to do everything we can as a movement to support you, and we thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
I hope that your family and friends are safe.
Thank you.
It's very horrible.
It is incredibly sorry. Thank you.
It reminds me of the terrible days of the Pinochet regime, and I saw a really chilling image of a student protesting wearing a mask of Pinochet, and it just really made my heart run cold, my blood run cold. And I think so often of my dear late friend Fernando Moya, who I worked beside in Labor Party headquarters and worked on many campaigns. He taught me so much, and he told me so much of what had happened in Chile. I know that he experienced torture. He could never speak about it very often, but I have never forgotten it, never forgotten the sacrifice that he made to come here as a refugee. And I know my comrade Tomo Languila also came here as a refugee, and we really don't want to see the Chilean community going through this. My daughter-in-law, she lives here in Australia now, but she is also South American, so this is something that's very close to my heart. So thank you to the Chilean community members and expatriates that have come to see us today. It is a very, very important issue. We cannot see democracy go backwards in Chile again.
Thank you, sir.
Well, I'm here in my capacity as former Speaker of the Legislative Assembly in the Victorian Parliament and former member of Latin American background in the Victorian Parliament. Today we had an important meeting between members of the Chilean and Latin American community, and indeed with many members of Parliament headed by the Honourable Minister Ben Caro. They welcomed the letter of concern as expressed by the members of the Chilean community, in which they state, all of the organizations that are signatory to it, concerns about the violations of human rights in Chile, concerns indeed about the many Chileans, men and women, that unfortunately have been killed, concerns about the many that have been wounded, indeed some of the women particularly that are disappeared, and some men, and violations of human rights in general. The letter, of course, concerns and states that the rule of law should be upheld in Chile, that the rule of law, as the Minister quite correctly pointed out, is a concern to Australians. And may we point out, incidentally, that the Chilean community is not isolated in this country. In fact, well accepted by the Australian community, is part of the Australian community. And as we said on numerous occasions, we have a responsibility because of human rights, because we indeed uphold a democracy and rule of law, but there is an additional important component. There are more than 100 Australian companies operating in Chile. Therefore, we will continue to make the point to Australian authorities, today the Victorian Parliament, later in the month the Federal Parliament, indeed in meetings and discussions that we had with the Victorian Trade Council, meetings that will be held with the Australian Council of Trade Unions, that if there are indeed more than 100 Australian companies operating in Chile, there is an Australian responsibility that falls upon directly the Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, the executive of the federal government and indeed of the opposition, to take a stand in relation to the violations of human rights in Chile, to condemn the violations of human rights in Chile, and to call upon President Piñera to urgently take the measures that are required and that have been demanded by the people of Chile, amongst others, the changes to the constitution, the respect of life, the respect to movement in Chile, and indeed to form as soon as possible a table, shall we call it, of conciliation and inclusion of all the broader sectors of trade unions, social and human rights groups in Chile, for the purpose of calming things down in Chile and bringing Chile into order. So today this delegation has been very welcome received by the parliamentary delegation, and I'm sure it will continue to be the case in the next days and weeks ahead of us.